Hello, ladies and gents. Hope you're well. Hope you had a fantastic week. This week, I'm back with the manager of Parkwood, talking about fitness, talking about how you can scale, some of the challenges Parkwood had during the pandemic, but also how they are tackling and continuing to grow through this interesting economic time that we find ourselves. So thank you so much for coming back and joining me, and we'll see you very, very soon for this exciting interview that I'm going to be conducting, and I'll see you in just a moment.
Of course, yeah. Thank you for having me on. I'm Gary Sheppard, General Manager of Parkwood Health and Fitness, located on the London Road in Salisbury.
Thanks so much for the time. And I think we were talking a little bit before the show about your industry and how it's changed, because obviously COVID was a big sort of ripple effect for you guys, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were one of the first industries that was like, yeah, you just can't operate. And I think probably one of the last that was sort of finding out those restrictions and seeing what was kind of possible and seeing what people's kind of market conditions were in regards to that. But also, moving forward, as we saw the economic interest sort of change and adapt, how has that kind of been? How has that kind of those set of challenges been? Whether this is COVID or whether these people, I guess, looking for cost cutting or looking to optimize their budget specifically, that maybe not see the value in a product like yours, or just maybe not specifically looking for Parkwood specifically as well, because I think sometimes people can forget the value that they get, and then when they remove it they go, oh, I miss these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a monster question, a lot to unpick there. And yeah, I mean, COVID was incredibly challenging, very difficult times for us. Legally, we got told we couldn't trade. And yet we were still applicable for things like landlord rents, costs and fees and stuff. We were incredibly well supported by our head office division, and we made the strategic decision to not request any money from members. We would sit patiently, and we would wait until obviously the time came when we could open up. For us as an industry, I mean, we're quite used to guidelines and framework, statutory compliances, health and safety. So we were just waiting to be told what to do, and then we were very confident that we could deliver, if not exceed what we were to deliver. But obviously communication was very slow, a lot of confusion. And every time, as soon as the button was pushed and we knew what we could and we couldn't do, we jumped on it. But we jumped on it with the members at the forefront of our mind. Were they going to be happy to come back? How would it work for them? What would the field be like for them? Even to the point when, the option came for us to, I mean, we're an indoor facility, but the option came for us to do group fitness outside. We linked up with a great local company, and got a marquee covering the span of our car park, with this great marquee outside, where we could do outdoor fitness. And it's complete first. We've never done it before. Local contractors installed power, local company put our marquee up, and we had happy members, some literally just returning to do that outside fitness because they were too nervous to come indoors and come in the facility at that point in time. So very strange. And we went from a membership base of 0 and rebuilding back up again. So straight into sky rising utilities, gas and electricity prices. A lot of people very nervous about what their membership fee would entail, because they knew very well that we're 18 hours a day, we're 363 days a year, we've got pools, saunas, steam rooms running, and our customers were coming to me and saying, look, our bills at home have gone skyrocketing, so what's going to happen here? Rightly so. If you've got a £10,000 bill a month, that's now a £30,000 bill a month. It's big numbers. So, but again, we had a very good, understanding board of directors who were quite patient. They didn't want to make any rash decisions. We didn't want to be one of those people that strip services out. And in fact, we carried on investing, looking at our product and service, and we just carried on pushing forward, and yeah, we've reaped dividends this year. Our membership base has never been so high. We've launched a swim school for children this year. And again, victim of our own success now. That's absolutely chocker with almost 200 children on the program. So touch wood, we seem to be one of those businesses where our customer continues to see value in what we offer and therefore hasn't struck their direct debit, hasn't left. But yeah, we appreciate that more than ever because times are hard and people are looking at their bills and working out what they can cut. And it's difficult. You know, we had a conversation just very briefly with the food bank, who we did some work with in lockdown 1. And we've just teed up with them again to start doing collections. We've got lots of members who have already been kind enough to start supporting. And again, you know, they do a grand job, but it seems to be more and more families that are turning and needing that. So yeah, difficult and challenging times. So for us, we are constantly thinking how do we justify our fees and charges, and how can we keep members engaged, and how can they see value in what we offer?
I think it opens up a larger question though, right? Because there's a lot of talk in the video world, a lot of talk in the marketing world, because there's this kind of perception that we alluded to in our pre-conversation about marketing being the soft budget, right? Being the budget that you can just cut away and it just disappears. But
yeah,
I've always found that slightly counterintuitive, right? Because in a time where economic challenge becomes challenging, sure, maybe you don't have the resources you did have when things were booming and things were great and things were wonderful. But surely that's actually when you need the marketing to operate better for you, right? Like that's the time when you actually need it to do the job that you need it to do, whether that's brand awareness, bringing new customers, etc. But how has Parkwood, you guys specifically, you know, as you described in those challenging or more challenging times, whether this is through COVID or through the newest challenge that we've seemed to have all been facing, you know, which is how do you, I guess, develop or re-articulate or change your, like, is there something specifically that you guys did that you think, obviously there's a reputation element there of like, okay, yes, we are going to do, and we are going to have this quality and we are going to have this value for our customer base. But was there specifically stuff that either you specifically or the head office kind of looked to do to be like, hey, we can do this because, and the reason why I ask is because I think there's so many businesses, especially smaller ones right now, who are sat looking at what's ahead of them and going, well, the idea of a job seems quite appealing right now.
Yeah, and I completely understand and totally sympathise. The difficult, challenging times, but you know, you're singing from a very similar hymn sheet to what I would, and I don't think you can ever scrap your marketing budget. I don't think it can be a discretionary spend that disappears. From a very personal perspective, I don't like to overcomplicate things, and I think, you know, the traditional 4 P's of marketing still stand very prevalent. I know there's, you know, you can have 5 P's, 6 P's, however many you want, but you know how are you priced? What's going on in your marketplace? What's your promotion, and stuff like that. You know, you just got to really bring it back to that and think about your offering. Like I say, we went back to a membership base of 0 to rebuild again, which is unheard of in our industry. Great, because we had members who we'd worked with before in the past, but we had to re-engage them and bring them back to the club. And that's where we kind of had to re-promote again and start that whole narrative again. You know what it, and for some people we had to remind them of the value and what they did before, and could they like to do it again. It is very interesting, and as human beings we often we see our friends and our family members doing things, and you know, those recommendations are always very powerful. You know, I need a builder. Who do I go to? I go to my family and I ask. You know, I need someone to help with my marketing. I go to people I trust, and who do I ask? So those recommendations can be quite powerful. We were hopeful that obviously, you know, fitness would get really thrusted to the forefront of the government agenda, and there might almost be a battle cry on a national level, but that kind of never seemed to transpire to be the case. So anything that the industry has done has really been off of its own back and banging its own drum. and like I say, we've just found ways to stay relevant to our customers, be it on a social side of things, because that's still very important. That's why people attend facilities. And again, we showcase that in our marketing and our promotions. We're a sociable club. We're a sociable staff base. And we encourage that. And then, you know, we've backed that up with the facilities themselves. But again, if you have a look at some of our stuff, we've used video to promote and push, so that people can see what we've got. It's great if you make an investment, but if you don't show anyone, unless they're in the building, how do they know you've made an investment? So you've got to get that information out there and let people know.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think it's one of those things that I'm having a lot of conversations at the moment with potential clients about, okay, how are you staying visible? What else are you doing? Have you started a new offering? Have you pivoted how you offer, etc., etc.? Because, you know, we are in a unique, interesting climate that, well, you know, if COVID showed me anything, it was actually you can't be one-dimensional. You have to learn how to pivot and adapt and change quickly, but also be able to diversify your revenue streams so you're not reliant on necessarily just one. But I think, how did you guys specifically bring, because you said you started from like no membership again, right? That's quite a big yardstick to go from 0 to where you are now. Like, what was that process like? How did you sort of go about how was the planning set? Like, how did you go about that? Because that sounds like a dream. Like, to a lot of businesses, that's going to be the kind of golden strategy, golden solution, right?
Yeah. And there's obviously a lot of moving parts in that question, but you know, a big part was literally bringing it back to, if we were doing something, we were talking about it, we were showcasing it, we were trying to get as many people to speak about Parkwood on a regular basis. Is there a way that you can share our information, like our information? How does it resonate with you? And like I say, the desire to get, you know, even a marquee into the car park at COVID times was, one, it was compliant. 2, there was a big market that wanted that. They wanted to get out of their house. They wanted to engage with people for the first time. So we were quite happy to invest, or happy to lose money, to get people back and engaged with the business. And, you know, that's, again, a bit like, you know, marketing can come in many different shapes and forms. And for us, you know, even something like that, buying a marquee or hiring a marquee and getting it set up, that wasn't our traditional product. That wasn't our traditional service or offering. And we could have just sat and waited, and no one would have thought any less of us. But we tried to think, what do our members want? How could we get them back? How could we engage with them? And yeah, I mean, right throughout the year, we've tried to do that. Obviously, we've done a big investment in the gym. You know, there's almost £100,000 worth of kit that's gone into the gym at a time when no one's spending any money. So, you know, everyone's zigging and we're zagging. We did £90,000 worth of shower investments, again, when no one was spending any money towards the tail end of last year. And again, our members wouldn't have thought any less of us if we'd paused, but we made those commitments to do that, and we carried on pushing, because we see the value in it. So one, like I say, it helps obviously attract those new customers too, but it helps our existing base talk about us.
It's also, I mean, the important point I mentioned there for those listening is, you know, a lot of what you were just describing there was very client or customer led decisions. They weren't overly selfish. They weren't overly, or because it'd be very easy for yourself or head office or etc. to go, no, we're not going to spend close to 200 grand because
of course
that's easier, right? Like that's less risk. There's you know, etc. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. Absolutely that. You know, I have to go to our lovely board of directors and I have to say, look, I want to put a marquee in the car park. And they're like, how much? How much for a marquee? Well, you haven't got any members. And, you know, and again, you know, we wanted to use a local company. So we invite 4 local companies down to tender. Only one shows up. You know, it's stuff like that. So like you say, you create work for yourself. but potentially if that work is along the right lines, then you reap dividends. So
I think what you end up creating, and a lot of the stuff that we do and have done, from what I've seen anyway, is created what a technique known as community karma, right? So creating this idea of, you have goodwill within the community, which in turn means, maybe when things are slightly more difficult, you might be able to not necessarily pay in that karma, but there's this kind of like more goodwill around. So you're more likely to want to either believe in what you're doing and continue to do that, or actually legitimately have more, uptick and etc. But I think it's all about, for me anyway, marketing is all about keeping that good reputation, but also articulating what you do and how you do it. But also, if I don't go into the gym, I've got no idea that you've had that 200. Yeah, as you said earlier, I don't have that 200. I don't know what that £200,000 or whatever it was spend was on, right? So I mean, you alluded a little bit earlier about video, and obviously that's a topic very close to my heart. How did you tackle that? I mean, what world did you use? Like, why did you choose to use video? And just for the record, it wasn't a production we've done, but I've seen some of them and they're great. So for me, I'm a big advocate for anyone who's willing to fly that video flag. How did you sort of go about choosing it?
We'll happily fly that video flag. And if you haven't got videos, they should come and be speaking to people that can provide videos. Absolutely, because from our perspective, look, we get a lot of customers who even now to this day go, "You're the new gym on London Road." Well, we opened in 2006, so we're very old now. We've been here for a little while, but they'll say, "Do you have a pool? And what does it look like?" And we'll go, "Yeah, here's a video." And they'll go, "Oh wow, that's amazing." So right, when can I come and join? And that's it. It's very difficult, isn't it? Because people can have all sorts of visions of things. Not all pools are created equal. What does your sauna and steam room look like? How are you going to showcase that to a customer? If you've got some great images and some great videos, it just helps engage and serve their inquiry better. They've inquired to you, they've spent the time reaching out, and if you just say, "Yeah, we got one, come and have a look," it's like, well, okay, well, maybe I'll see you. But you can get people excited before they walk in the door, really, by doing things like that. And also, if you have got an interest in the marketplace and people are shopping around, which is more so than ever for value or for money, or people justifying their spend, that's when they will look out. And if they can see a great video of kit or showers or whatever it is that's relevant to them or what they're looking for, then that will absolutely resonate with them, rather than just words on a piece of paper or a Facebook post that says, "Hey, we just spent some money doing this."
I think it's it jumps to mind to me because I was having a conversation the other day with a client, and they actually said that a lot of the inquiries they're getting have actually gone down, but the quality of those inquiries, because they've done videos as part of their process, has actually increased, right? So the ones they actually get to having the conversation with are better suited or better quality actual leads. So the volume isn't as much, but the quality is a lot higher. I mean, I think for me, there's going to be some people, right, wrongly or rightly, that may look at what you guys have and go, it's not for me, for whatever reason, right? And I think the same would be true if you had videos, right? Because then you could kind of in some ways pre-cancel or you don't have to go through in the most respectful way possible. You don't have to waste their time, you don't have to waste your time, etc. to make sure you're talking to the right audience. And I think for me, one of the crux of why why sometimes people get marketing wrong is they're trying to articulate what they do to the wrong audience and or to everyone, right? So, I mean, how do you... This is maybe not your decision, but I'm sure you can comment on it. How did Parkwood specifically... Because, let's be honest, Parkwood is positioned from my perception of what I know, it's perceived or it's looked at as the more premium option for gyms in regards to cost, but then also that comes with what's expected, that comes with the facilities, etc. How did you as a company, you as in Parkwood, come up with that decision? Because there had to be a point, probably around 2005-ish, where it was like, right, this is where we're going to position ourselves in the market.
Absolutely. And the decision was to to look at the marketplace and what the marketplace had and provide something different. We always wanted to lean towards the premium side. But it's funny, really, because we always wanted to kind of be known as a good gym at a fair price. I don't know, that doesn't sound very good, does it? It doesn't really sound that sexy, but that was kind of where we wanted to position ourselves. We wanted to just be the good gym at the fair price. That was, look, we understood we were never going to be relevant to everyone, but we didn't want someone to open up the brochure or look at the price sheet and cry. We wanted it to be like, oh, okay, it's a few more pounds than what we've got. But like I say, at the same time, we've got a board of directors, and when we work in association with them, we look at things like our sauna, and you can fit out a sauna in all types of ways, and you can spend all sorts of money. But when we spec out and we look at things, and they're going, okay, we'll earmark £40,000 for that project. You're not trying to buy the cheapest. You're not trying to cut corners. It has to look a certain way and feel a certain way. Again, even when we went to the showers, we spent that money at a climate where no one was really spending money. We didn't have to tile the walls. We could have stuck up rock wool and, painted it some nice colours, but it wouldn't have looked right, and it wouldn't have been us. So, and it wouldn't have been true to our brand and what we've been doing to date. So exactly those words that you reiterated earlier, understanding sort of who you are, your positioning in the marketplace, and holding true to it even in those difficult times, I think will reap dividends, particularly if customers are looking around and trying to find the value and what stays relevant to them.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the conversation a lot lately as well, because people have been talking to me about Facebook ad spend, and they've been talking to me about should they invest in video, how they should invest in video, etc. And what we've been doing as a company has been looking at, okay, so what were we spending? How were we doing videos? And now I've actually arguably doubled what I've been spending, and also thinking about it more creatively and changing and adapting on how we actually can leverage everything that we're doing to create more video content, because as a video agency, that should be what I'm providing the market with as a use case, showcase piece, in the same way for yourselves. What is that quality? So my video should be really swish. My video should be really professional, because that's what I sell. In the same way, if you're trying to target a upper end or more, premium market, you maybe are going to think about those tiles. You are going to think about, do we have the latest kit? When do we last refresh stuff, etc., etc. But also, I guess, in some ways, how can you support the more localized community as well? Because I think sometimes we look just from a commercial point of view at, okay, how can we make, in theory, look, we're all in business to make money, right? So it has to be profitable to do, but sometimes, especially in a growth stage, which I think Parkwood and myself are in at the moment, which is actually, and yes, things are harder, yes, things are getting tighter, but that's actually when I call it the true blood entrepreneurs really come out, because the people who are willing to still bite the bullet and say, right, okay, no, we're not going to cut this spend. Yes, it might get a bit tighter, yes, it might get a bit more interesting, but that means we have to come, more pivotable or come up with some other creative ways to make money in other areas, so we don't have that shortfall, but also what's the value that we're going to add. And I think if you can, I guess, in some ways outlast your competition or continue to do what you would be expected to do, then, as you say, you'll pay dividends either from that community karma you build, but also from just sheer outlasting as well, right? I mean,
it's you've touched upon so many great points, and that's it. Post COVID, full transparency, a lot of our industry just put its head in. Fuel, gas prices went up, electricity prices went up. Like I say, we are beasts. We're big buildings. We use 18 hours a day. We're open. We use a lot of utilities. And a lot of our industry put its head into the sand and said, I'll cut that, I'll drop that, we're not doing that. And do you know what? Probably financially, short term, it did stack up for them. Absolutely. If you shave 2 degrees off your pool, turn your sauna, steam and jacuzzis off, you probably are quids in. But ultimately, your customers are going to leave because they're not going to be happy. And also, your staff won't be happy because your building is closing. one item at a time. So you've got that spiral of decline. And like you say, it's similar to vibes with marketing budgets. If you've got a business development team or a sales team that are pushing a target and they're trying to really go for it, if everyone goes, right, we're slashing the budgets and we're whacking up your targets, well, that's really motivational, isn't it? It's going to really bang the drum for the charge to hit it. So I think you've got to get that act right all the time. And you, like I say, we're fortunate that we've got, dare I say, an old board of directors. That's maybe not the right word. Probably if they listen to this, they'll crucify me. But they've been in the game a long period of time, and they're not scared. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, these things come in cycles, and I think the minute you down tools and throw up the white flag, well, you're done before you even begin. And like I say, for us, we're this year we're up on our COVID numbers by 400 members. We've never been so busy. Now that could be that a lot of customers have shopped around. They've moved from competitors to us. So they maybe are spending more money than what they were before now. So that kind of resonates to the fact that you don't have to be the cheapest, and there could be an option in the marketplace, but you have to be relevant.
I think you have to be valuable, right? And the problem when you start going down this line of conversation is value is very subjective, right? What's valuable to me will not necessarily be valuable to you, and vice versa. But I think it's about appreciating and understanding and really getting into contact with who is the target audience, who are these people that we're going to try and resonate with and try to talk to, where are they, and what do they actually value, right? What do they care about? And how can we then be positioned as the go-to solution for whatever it is that we offer? Yeah. But I think for me, I think something that I've been very fortunate to have is the ability to perspective and understanding and sort of saying, and for my age, I think I'm very far ahead in that respect, because a lot of people in my position, in my age, would be like, no, I don't know, because one of the issues and one of the concerns that a lot of people my age have is we've only known a good economy, right? But if you look at history, every economy goes in between 10 and 15 year cycles where there's a boom bust, boom bust, boom bust, boom bust, boom bust, boom bust. So when you understand that, you're just kind of sitting going, okay, well, we're at this stage in the overarching circle that the economy always goes in, right? So that way, in some ways, it actually gives you confidence to understand, okay, yes, the next 6 to 12, maybe 18 months, potentially 2 years might be a bit of a bumpy ride and might be a bit more stressful, or a bit, you might have to do things you otherwise wouldn't. But if you're focused on growth and survival there, and you're smart with how you operate, then think about where you're going to be if you continue to grow in marketing, you continue to still invest in equipment, in good karma, in marketing, etc. So that in those 2 years, you can't just be, oh, cool, guys, we survived. No, actually, we're now in a completely different level, and we're actually in a completely different scale, and etc. But also something that I've been considering as well is, unfortunately, what happens when a contraction happens is there's quite a significant number of companies that will just throw in the flag, will just throw in the towel for multitude of reasons, right? They don't have the fire anymore, they don't have the hunger anymore, they as I said earlier, a job seems really appealing. Oh, a job offer's coming, I'll take that, thank you. But what would you say, I guess, to people who are maybe on that fence between, people who are entrepreneurs who have maybe they've been in it a couple of years and they're like, okay, things are getting a bit difficult and I know that I probably can keep going. I know I probably can actually get through this period, however long that may be. Look, this may be 6 months, it might be 6 months and then things will be incredibly good again, potentially. Also might be 2 years. We've got no idea.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think you really summed it up quite nicely at the beginning of all of that. And I think, if you're out there serving someone, if you are delivering a service or, through product or service based, who do you resonate with? Where do you sit within the marketplace? And like I say, really trying to strip it back to answering those core pivotal questions. And that's really how ultimately I believe you resonate, you stay relevant. If you genuinely believe you've got a great product and you genuinely believe you've got a great service, and you in your heart of heart believe those two things, but you haven't got anyone walking through your doors, then you definitely have a marketing problem because you're not relevant. So nobody knows about you, because if you believe in that product and you believe in that service, but nobody's walking through your door, then you definitely have a marketing problem. And I would say for us, purely our example, you know, you hit the nail on the head earlier when you were talking about pre-qualifying leads. This year, maybe more than ever, we haven't had a huge volume of people coming in, inquiring, all that type of stuff. But what we have had has really been filtered out. Almost people know what we've got. They know what our prices are. They've got friends here. They've got family here. They just want to quickly see it with their own eyes and then go, yeah, let's get started. It's you know, you have to find that way to go back to those original questions, start again.
I agree. I think so many people sometimes don't want to throw out the plan because they have this inherent investment in the plan. Something that COVID showed 100%. Me was throw out the plan because you can have the best business plan, you can have the best marketing plan, you can have the best tactical plan, but the world will change and the goalposts will move before, in some cases, before the plan can be executed. And I think absolutely, yeah. And that COVID,
yeah,
no, go on.
You know, like, no, I was just going to say, yeah, you know, that COVID experience, you know, we were just literally waiting to be told that, yes, you can operate, but, you know, you've got to do it stood on your head with one leg behind your back. You know, it was like that for times. You know, how many times can you jump through hoops? So, you know, like you said, being ready to throw the plan out the window, but at the same time, going back to, you know, who are your customers? Who are your customers and where are they? And taking it back.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree. And I think it's one of those things sometimes where we look at, you know, what could possibly go wrong instead of what could possibly go right. We talk about opportunity cost. Sometimes we talk about the reality where it's like, oh, you know, I could save all this money by cutting my marketing spend. Well, yes, you could, but actually, what are you losing by doing that, right? What potential clients, potential customers, potential opportunities, potential etc. could you get if you don't do that? I'm not saying pull it down to something. You know, if you need to make cuts, but don't cut it all. You know, be careful, etc. Be a bit more strategic on how you cut it, because I think it's very easy to just go, oh, marketing's not working, so we're going to turn off that tap, right?
Yeah, and it's a quick thing, isn't it? You know, we touched upon it before we entered in this call together. You know, fitness can be seen as a discretionary spend. Right, I'll cut that straight off the bat because I don't need that direct debit every month, or I don't need to pay that bill for the year. Fitness isn't important. And you go, okay, well, you know, try being in your 60s or 70s with back-to-back health conditions and not being able to move around. Suddenly, if you could go back, you would have gone, fitness was really important. I wish I'd done something, even if I just committed a few times a week. You know, marketing can resonate like that, can't it? Where you go, oh, I'm 3 years down the line. If only I'd spent a bit of money back then. If only I'd come up with a plan back then. If only I'd sought some help. And I think that's where it's difficult, isn't it? You were speaking about entrepreneurs earlier, and, you know, I work in a business, so appreciate talking about entrepreneurs may seem a bit.
Oh, it's easy for you. You've got to pay a job.
Yeah, it's easy for him because he's sat in a chair and he's on payroll. So, but it's you know, I suppose from my personal experience, you know, we can't be masters of everything. Yeah, I sometimes label myself as a jack of all trades, master of none. So I can have a conversation with a plumber about a boiler, but that doesn't mean I can install boilers. I can talk to a marketer about videos, and I can put nice videos up on my website, but that doesn't mean I can shoot video. You know, there is a time when you do need to lean on experts and bring them into the fold. And that's where, as an entrepreneur, you know, you need a team to support you to make it happen.
I think in general, right? So I don't think it's just entrepreneurs. I think specifically in entrepreneurs, yeah, of course you need people around, but there's a reason why there's management. There's a reason why there's a board of directors. There's a reason why there's people, who specialize in, like lifeguards or PTs or etc. Right? Like, you're gonna have those specialists in those fields because you can't be everywhere. Number one, you also don't know everything necessarily. But even those experts are hopefully learning and developing and pushing themselves forward to get better at their craft. I think the issue comes is when people get complacent and when they sit on a certain level of entitlement to say, well, I've been in business for 10 years, so I'm entitled to be busy. In the nicest way possible, my friend. No, you're not entitled. No, you don't have. You and I have the same yardstick. Just because I've been in business 6 and you've been in business 10 and this other person's been in business 1, we all have the same market to be as busy. It's down to us and what we operate and how we operate our businesses to choose on how busy we are and actually the value we add to the market. Of course, there's an argument to say, well, if someone's been there 10 years, they should know how to operate the market better. Okay, but that's a kind of subjective thing as well, because I think you can go down the rabbit hole and it can be very what's my competitor doing? Why am I worried? I'm worried about what my competitor's doing. Oh, what about this person? Yeah. And I've always been very worried about people who go down that road. I'll be very careful with myself or with my coaching clients about letting them go down that road, because some of the time that can be the thing that kills you. Because instead of focusing on, right, what can I do today to move myself forward? Right, where was I last year? Right, where was I this time last year? Etc. And constantly trying to develop yourself and have that personal development or business development time yourself. And that's why I think it's not really if you're an entrepreneur, I think it's you personally. Because I think, as I've said on multiple occasions, I think sometimes people, especially if they've had an entrepreneurial element, I think sometimes people sit on the fence of going, I will never have a job because of my pride. But at the end of the day, actually, if your priorities change, you having a job might be the better solution for you. Because the reality of an entrepreneur is you work 7 days a week. You can't fully switch off because when you open your emails, there's probably going to be 1 or 2 that are like, oh, okay, And I'm not saying that doesn't happen with a job, but what I'm saying is a job allows you to have that, right? I've finished. Let's go and turn off, right? And also there's other benefits, of course, as well. But I think it's a different lifestyle, and I think you have to be very aware of what your values and morals are as an entrepreneur, as a person. And to say, okay, well, is a job a better scenario for where I am right now? Do I need that secure income, etc.? And or am I willing to do what's necessary as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a leader, to push things forward, especially when things get more interesting economically, right? Because that's exactly the time when things are going to get harder. And that's why I think you have to refocus on, okay, well, what am I doing and how am I developing what I'm doing? And less about, or what's Gary doing, or what's Nigel doing, or what's Sally doing, and more about, okay, how can I get better at what I do?
I think, and you'll probably find that within your field. I think the minute you sit there and you go, I'm done, I've completed it, I'm the master, hold my hands up, everyone bow down to me, I'm fantastic. That's probably the point where you've lost and the journey's going to come to an end at some point, be it now or be it years down the line. But dipping into your work and stuff, I've seen you playing around with different shots and different videos and drones and, from that brief little videography side of things. So, taking your style of things, it's one little snapshot and going, is that good? Is that good? Would that be good? Does that resonate with someone? Is that relevant? And you're exploring. And I think you've got to do that. And for certainly me, a lot of people that know me quite well will say I'm my own worst critic. I'm never happy. Well, I am happy, but I just kind of look back and go, could we do some more? What's next? Now we've done that, can we do this? And that's, in a business, that can be quite difficult because obviously, like we touched upon earlier, you've got board of directors and they've got plans and they're looking at the big strategic decision across a much larger organization. And, rightfully so, they haven't got the time necessarily to commit to one individual going, hey, me again. I want to chat about this. I want to chat about that. So, they've only got those tight time slots to allocate that in. So that constantly looking in on yourself, looking at what you're doing, I personally believe that does reap dividends. The old analogy of saying, well, we've always done it this way, so we'll just do it this way, breeds complacency and problems.
But it does open up a question though, because I get it a lot of the time of like, how do you gain access to people who are busy, right? This could be someone who runs a really big business or runs multiple businesses, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But busy people, right? People who one could idolize, right? There's this type of conversation on whether you should or not, but that's a type of conversation entirely. But from your perspective, how would you, whether that's get a managing director's time or trying to get a meeting with a quote unquote someone who is busy, or is someone you are really, really wanting to interview on your podcast, for example, or etc. How would you say to someone who is trying to do that to actually go about doing that?
Yeah, that is a challenge within its half, isn't it? And I would say you probably know this a hell of a lot better than me. Building up that network is massive. It's pivotal, and you're out in front of people and you're speaking. I suppose from a purely selfish perspective, as I stand now, I have 3,000 members on my books. So at any one given time, I can, and I've been involved in running the club since 2008. So I can reach out to people quite quickly, because people will go, oh, okay, yeah, I know Gary, yeah, Mr. Parkwood or Parkwood man, yeah, I know him, and that resonates the conversation, and off it spins and stuff. But I think if you're coming in cold and you're starting, that's where you've got to look at networking groups, start building up links, associations. If you've got a marketing problem, who's going to market for you? If you've got a sales problem, who's going to sell for you? If you've got a product issue, who's going to work with you on your product? You start building up that database of trusted people that you're in business with, and you do it from there. I mean, we've got a lot of local suppliers that we've worked with over the years now, and they've got a lot of clients and stuff that they service, but where we've been regular and we're a big part of them and their life, they know that when I pick up the phone, if it's urgent, they're like, hey, we're there, we're coming.
I think I'll respond in two parts on this. I think firstly, on the initial reach out question, you have to lead with value from them point of view. Otherwise, respectfully, people who are busy and have lots to do aren't going to give you the time. It's nothing personal. They just have a lot of things to do and they only have a certain number of hours, right? But also, just building on what you were talking about there, I think it's about creating that, as I alluded to earlier, about the community karma element. And I guess in some ways being an asset to someone having problems fixed, not creating problems. And I think that so much of our society sometimes, especially as we're in business, we, I guess in some ways, lack the confidence to feel like this other human, just because they're, the managing director of X company, or they're this, they have this big social presence or whatever. They're not going to see me. They're not going to want to talk to me. Right? That doesn't mean necessarily you get unfeathered access, and that doesn't mean, etc. But I think, especially people who have come from nothing, I think they're more, in my experience at least, when I've asked, I've asked some pretty big people to come on the show, and I'm like, no, not a chance, that's not going to happen. And they say yes, and I'm like, okay, right, okay. And for me, I think it's, to an extent, I think sometimes we pedestal or idolize those people and think they're a lot bigger than they necessarily are, but also think about it from their point of view. They're gaining another piece of content, they're gaining an ability to potentially create content themselves, but also they potentially might look at it as going, well, I was there 2 years ago, I was there 3 years ago trying to build something, and they might see something in you that's like, no, actually this guy, this kid, this girl, this whoever, actually maybe they have something there that, I could pay forward, I could reward, right? And I think that's really important.
And I think also, a lot, like we say, you can't be an expert in everything. And if you go into a conversation with an open mind and you're speaking to someone who has experience in a certain field, chances are you're going to walk away with one or two things from that conversation which you can bring forward. And that might be something really small, like just a number for who to phone for help, or just a contact for the future to say, we spoke about this, that and the other, and touch upon it again and stuff. So I think understanding that no man, no woman is an island, and at some point in time, you're gonna cross and work with other people. And I think, again, not dwelling on COVID too much, but if it taught us anything, I think human beings, the majority of us, are sociable creatures. We want to be around people. We want to be engaged with people, and that's why you'll get a lot of entrepreneurs or business owners and stuff who are working for themselves that will come in and work in a gym or come in and work in an open office, where you go, well, why not work from home? And it's like, well, I want to talk to someone. I want to network with someone. I want to be part of something. I want to have a conversation somewhere.
Or just have that separation, something that I had before the office, which is like, I have no way to switch off because I go from my desk to my desk. So, okay. There's no kind of, I shut the door. And even as I say, even as an entrepreneur, you can sort of gain a little bit of a space away from it. You won't fully, I don't believe that entrepreneurs or people who run their own business will ever be able to fully switch off. I don't personally believe that. I think that we can switch off to a level. Right? I think we can distance ourselves from it, that helps with a physical move. Right, and that's why I think I think it's important to, even if you are working from home, have a work desk and then somewhere else that you can, whether that's literally just moving from the kitchen table to the sitting room when you finish work, even to something simple like that. I think it will do wonders for you, because you can have that mental space, that mental switch off. But also understand that sometimes you're going to have to put in, especially in an economy like now, you're going to have to do the later work. You're going to have to push harder. You're going to have to, I'm going to have to stay 2 extra hours because this client needs it tomorrow, for example. Things like that. Yeah. But for those who have really enjoyed this conversation, maybe want to see all these wonderful new, 200 grand's worth of investments that you guys have just done, where's best for people to reach out to you? Where's people to continue that conversation?
So we have a website, parkwoodhealthandfitness.co.uk. You can find us on predominantly Facebook and Instagram. So those are 2 big channels for us on the social media front, where you can find us. And any questions at all, you can always ping us and reach out to us. And we use them quite regularly, and they're a big part of who we are. So
fantastic. And for those who have got this far and are looking to maybe start making that career jump into middle management, upper management, etc., or actually leaving more corporate world and going out on their own, what advice from your experience would you give them?
So I mean, again, I suppose it's a bit like the customer perspective, really. Taking it back to being relevant. If you work for a company, are you relevant to your company? If we said tomorrow, pause, why do we pay you? If you struggle to come up with an answer, that's really bad. If you start reaming off stuff on how you add value and how you're relevant, that's perfect. And chances are, your company are going to notice that, hopefully appreciate that, and that's going to resonate into other roles. In regards to that, making the entrepreneurial jump, I think you would be best placed to answer that one.
I think it's a larger question, of course, but I think the initial point is, what is your situation from a financial point of view? Simply, don't make a plan. Don't just jump and then expect to not die because you didn't make a plan. But also ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario, and are you willing to accept that reality for a period of time? And again, what's the opportunity cost of not doing it? Right, in regards to your own work-life balance, in regards to what you want to do and how much fulfillment you get from your job, but also where were you going to be in 1, 2, 6, 15, 20 years, right? Because we've got so much time regardless of your age, in my view.
Absolutely, And I think the biggest thing is, look, if you are making that jump, are you genuinely passionate about it? Does it resonate with you? You can't from my personal perspective, and I don't know, I could be wrong. People tell me I'm wrong, and I'm happy to be told I'm wrong, but I don't think you can't fake that passion. We had a conversation before we had this conversation, and already I could get your excitement about marketing, your excitement about, the things that you do in regards to video and stuff like that. It comes across. You can't fake that. And I think whatever it is, or product or service that you intend to serve, if you're not passionate about it and you don't get excited, you're not going to make someone else excited about it. So, before you make that jump, really look at things.
Thanks so much for joining me, ladies and gents. I hope you took value from this episode. If you did, why not be subscribed to the channel so you do not miss the next interview that we'll be posting next week. And I'll be back very, very soon with some brand new content. So if you'd like to hear how video can help your business in 2023, then I'd love to hear from you. I'll leave my information somewhere around this video, and I'll see you